Here it comes, ready? The single dumbest thing you will hear anyone say about your favorite football team this entire week. Deep breath here. They would benefit from losing if it meant that their quarterback would gain any kind of meaningful experience at throwing a football. Good morning to you. Good Tuesday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports, and this is Daily Shot of Steelers. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into hockey and or baseball, I also offer daily shots of Penguins and Pirates that I hope you'll check out. Kenny Pickett wasn't good against Green Bay. Kenny Pickett wasn't good against Tennessee. Kenny Pickett hasn't had a good season. That's not hard to say. That's not even really criticism. That's just stating a fact. He hasn't been good. He hasn't been good really at anything. He hasn't been good at moving in the pocket. He hasn't been good at holding the pocket. He hasn't been good at throwing downfield. He hasn't been good at throwing short. He hasn't been good at reading the field. He hasn't been good at staying true to a play's principle, objective. He just hasn't been good. And I would humbly suggest here, however stupid it might sound, that this football team will go nowhere. Not this season, not the season after that, not even a couple of years from now. So long as they're going to either shackle their quarterback or allow him to shackle himself, mutually out of a fear of turnovers. Look, I get it. Interceptions are bad. They can hurt you. They can cost you a game on any given Sunday. They usually do. But I also understand that there's nothing more important in football than to have an impact quarterback. There's nothing that makes a bigger difference. And to date, to my eyes, what you've seen between the Steelers and this young man who they've chosen to be their franchise quarterback for however long is that either they're not taking the training wheels off, or he himself doesn't want to take the training wheels off because he doesn't want to lose the job. That's what I'm witnessing every week now. That's the single biggest difference between the promising periods from the 2022 season to what's been pretty much across the board this season. Why aren't they throwing to the middle of the field? That's what everybody wants to know. Why aren't they throwing to they're not throwing to the middle of the field because they don't want to throw interceptions. It's not any more complicated than that. They have a defensive-minded head coach who knows that if you throw across the middle of the field, there's a higher risk of interceptions. That's where that comes from. That's where that emanates. There's no mystery. There's no controversy. There's nothing for anybody to dig up. Tomlin doesn't like throwing over the middle of the field. When he had Ben Roethlisberger, he really didn't have a whole lot he could do about it. Okay? He's got a guy who had will and experience and stubbornness galore. And on top of all that, the credentials to make all of that count. So Ben just did pretty much what he wanted, within reason. If Tomlin had ever gone to Ben and said, "Hey, Ben, I want you to stop throwing across the middle." I mean, it sounds ridiculous, right? Okay, coach, so what are we going to do with this number 83 that we have at tight end? We're just going to leave him home or something? It would never happen. It would never even cross anyone's mind. But in this environment, and this head coach seeing how tenuous every single thing is about his team on both sides of the ball right now, seeing how every little detail can make or break a given game, and that somehow magically they've emerged 6-3 from this 9-game mess on offense and somewhat of a mess on defense, the last thing he's going to do is let his quarterback cut loose. So what's his response for everything, meaning Tomlin's? Well, just play it safe. Play it safe. Run the football. You know, Jaylen Warren doesn't fumble anymore. Najee Harris never fumbled. Just run the football. Get better at running the football. We'll get around to the passing someday, some week, some year. But it won't be now. Did you see something different than that? Sunday against Green Bay? Did you really see something other than a team that did not want to throw over the middle of the field or did not want to throw downfield? Everyone's always wanting to know, who's to blame for this? It's everybody. It's everybody who's involved in this particular process. Tomlin sets the tone. Matt Canada follows the direction. Not like Canada has any leg to stand on either, right? And from all of that, I really think it also affects Kenny. And that's on Kenny. Did you notice that when Mitch Trubisky took over for however brief a time, that he didn't exactly avoid the middle of the field? Now, he was pretty lousy in not avoiding the middle of the field. One learns really early on not to throw into triple coverage at a 30-year-old receiver. But he didn't care. He didn't care. Mitch has never cared. He didn't care for years in Chicago. He's not going to start caring now that he's a backup. He just went out there and started flinging. And I honestly think that this team, not just this offense, this whole team would benefit from a couple of weeks of just letting Kenny throw. And look, I know I'm not going to get anybody to agree with me on this. Certainly not once the ball flies Sunday in Cleveland. Because all you're thinking about is all that Tomlin's thinking about is all that anybody's thinking about, which is beat the Browns. But you're not going to see your quarterback get any better. You're not going to see your quarterback get any more comfortable in the pocket, any more confident in firing across the middle. And then, within all of that, coming back to work the next day or the next week, knowing how to bounce back from the mistakes that he'll inevitably make. He's not even being allowed to make mistakes. And I don't think he wants to make them either. That's what you're seeing. That's it. When we come back, J1Q.
This segment of Daily Shot is brought to you by our good friends at Mike's Beer Bar. They're located on Federal Street, directly across from PNC Park. Mike has more than 500 beers on tap, including from more than 50 local breweries. Stop in and say hello. Tell Mike we sent you. Mike's Beer Bar.
Today's J1Q comes from Randy, who says, DK, it was another great win for the Steelers, but as it relates to Kenny Pickett, my frustration is that the ball never seems to come out on time or on schedule. Why is that? Is his first read never open? Seems unlikely. Does he only want to throw to receivers who are, quote, college open, end quote? Does he just not trust what he is seeing? Randy, I'm going to try to answer this without reiterating the entire opening segment, because I do think that you're coming at this with a lot more detail than I did. So taking each one of these, is his first read never open? Of course not. They're open. Deontay Johnson is perennially one of the top 3 NFL wide receivers at getting open. And yes, they can now track that sort of thing. He's really, really good at it. Deontay made 1 catch Sunday against Green Bay. 1. That's insane. Does he only want to throw to receivers who are college open? Yes, Randy, that's true for the most part. On the sideline routes, particularly in the direction of George Pickens, you'll see Kenny put the ball up. And there's some hope behind those throws. And I don't say that in a good way. They feel more hopeful than they feel purposeful. And here again, I'm boomeranging back to everything that I said in the opening segment. Your final point was, does he just not trust what he is seeing. I don't think he trusts anything that he's doing right now, Randy. I don't think he trusts his arm. I don't think he trusts his eyes. I don't think he trusts his legs anymore. It was jarring, wasn't it, to see him scramble for that first down? Whereas, if you'll recall from his first season, he was doing that sort of thing a lot. You don't see it anymore. Why? He doesn't have any leg injuries. He's not slowed down. It's just not there. My belief here is that if you're going to find out what you have in Kenny Pickett, if Kenny's going to find out what he has in Kenny Pickett, he's going to have to try some stuff. He's going to have to go out there and make mistakes. He's going to have to experience some bad times, because along the path to those bad times, he's also going to make some plays. Because A, he's done that in the past. B, he has at least some playmakers. And C, his offensive line is now, they're starting to get it together. I understand that the run blocking, at least from my perspective, was better than the pass blocking, but the pass blocking wasn't bad. So all of these other things that conspired against him are really kind of out the window. He just needs to throw the ball, throw it with conviction, and to an extent, not fret so damn much over the consequences. I appreciate the question. It was a really good one. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Steelers. We're going to do another one of these tomorrow.